Hey guys, my name's Dale, and you're watching Think Fact. Now, spiders play an important role in ecosystems all across the world. Granted, not everybody's afraid of them, and even some of us are brave enough to keep them as pets. And it should also be noted that statistically, people who are afraid of spiders tend to always be afraid of other bugs as well. But I would like to focus on spiders, which are very chill animals and tend to be quite afraid of people. But that doesn't stop most people being even more afraid of them. But why? That'd be like if the Statue of Liberty was afraid of a toddler, for a relatively good size comparison. And yes, some spiders are venomous, but deaths are actually very rare. There hasn't been a spider-related death in the United States in the past 40 years. And nobody's died of a spider bite in Australia in the past 30 years. And everything wants to kill you in Australia. And if you were to look at the most venomous spider in the world, the Brazilian wandering spider, out of 7,000 confirmed cases where the spider bit a person, only 10 people died. And they were all children or people who had allergic reactions to the venom. And out of all of them, only 2% of all those cases even needed antivenom. I mean, you're more likely to die from a horse, a car, a shark, a bear, a dog, and even playing American football than you are from a spider. But you don't see people running around trying to hit every single football player they see with a shoe. But this all leads to what I feel is an important question. Have people always feared and been disgusted of spiders? So in this video, I'm going to go over different civilizations and groups of people from around the world to get an understanding of how they felt about spiders. So, let's get educated. Now, the oldest mention of spiders is found in, yes, Africa. The ancient Egyptians associated spiders with the mother of Ra, Nyet. And there are many ways to pronounce her name. She was the goddess of spinning and weaving destiny. She was also the goddess of war and hunting. And there's some evidence through the hieroglyphs that are left that some Egyptians may have felt that destiny was connected with spiders somehow. And it should be noted that the Egyptians talked quite a bit about insects and arachnids, which can be seen all through their hieroglyphs. And really the only thing that has shown that the Egyptians had a true fear of was locusts. And that would scare the crap out of anybody. There were also some sub-Sahara groups which had figures dedicated to spiders. The sub-Sahara figures of Anansi and Nico both explain how spiders came to be. Anansi was a being who became a spider through greed, by creating a web and trying to keep all his stuff together while constantly gaining more. And he was made into a moral lesson over greed for children. Nico was a god who was prevented from going to heaven by his father, and ended up staying in what is now Cameroon, Africa. Though he was seen as a bit of a trickster, he was well respected due to the fact that he protected the area of insects and helped ward them off. And many of them believed spiders to be helpful, but also tricksters and a bit mischievous, but not necessarily evil or disgusting and horrifying. In Asia, the Chinese considered the spider to be good luck. Even the Chinese word for spider translates into happiness insect, mostly because they were thought to descend from the heavens. Now the Japanese had tales of giant spiders being able to transform into humans, mostly to seduct men and eat them. But spiders really didn't have a sinister or disgusting essence to them in Japan. Now they were actually displayed in Japanese artwork quite a bit, and legend goes that when you see one it foretells a visit from a good friend. In early Islamic history, spiders were seen as a grace from God. When Muhammad was fleeing Mecca trying to escape the people who were trying to dispose of him, he then went on to hide in a cave, and by the time his enemies caught up with him, there was a spider that made a web over the entrance of the cave, and his enemies ended up leaving due to the fact that they thought he didn't enter the cave, in turn most likely saving his life. So there was a special kind of respect for them. A similar story is also found in the Old Testament with David when he was trying to flee King Saul, when he was hiding in a cave around Jerusalem. And there are many cultures around the world that have stories very similar to this. Even the Japanese have one with the story of Yoritomo. Now some Australian Aboriginals had a great respect for spiders. To them, their spiderweb symbolized the connection of the families and the tribes and areas. And some Polynesian groups had their head god that created the universe being a giant spider. Nero being the giant spider god that created the universe. And just think for a second, could you imagine if that was the real religion and he just came back to visit his creation?
Hello, my children, I've come back from the heavens. Come and give your maker a hug.
That would be a nightmare. There's also tribes on Papua New Guinea that have no problem with spiders, and most of them incorporate spiders into their diet. Many Native Americans felt that spider webs actually caught and repelled bad dreams, and that would later become the influence behind the design of the dream catcher. Just quite ironic considering how they're viewed today. Some Cherokee stories claim that it was a spider that brought fire to man. Other tribes say that it's a spider's web that connects the earth to the heavens. But the tribes that are connected to the Lakota used to see spiders as being mischievous and troublesome, even having tales of spiders being able to turn into humans, or any animal. Now the Hopi Native Americans claim that there's a spider grandmother who spread the message of the creator, and also taught people to weave. Navajo weavers used to stick their hands in the spider webs in order to absorb the wisdom and the skill of the spider when weaving. And lastly, South America had a very interesting viewpoint. Apart from some indigenous tribes in the Amazon that still incorporate spiders into their diets, on the west side of the Andes, spiders were seen as having a divine purpose. The Nazca lines show spiders as being very special to the people, and there are plenty of shrines that belong to ancient civilizations that were dedicated to spider gods. All the civilizations I listed, including many others, actually didn't really have much of a disgust or fear of spiders at all. And before recorded history, many anthropologists believed that spiders were just little walking food for all of us. Easy protein. But you probably noticed I left one group out. Oh, who could it be? The Europeans. That was because for most of history, the Europeans were completely scared to death of spiders. Even though the Celts, the Romans, and the Greeks really didn't have too much of a fear of spiders, or at least from what can be seen from the information that we can find on them. Though we see a change once we get into the Middle Ages, where clusters of people started believing in pseudoscience that had appeared by scientists of the time that believed that all spiders were poisonous. And this placed a lot of fear into the hearts of people. Religious groups in turn started to incorporate spiders in a pact with the devil, due to this pseudoscience. And beside a few species of spider which actually have a cross on them and were seen as good luck, most spiders were considered very bad. But it wasn't really a fear of disgust, but mostly because you thought it was going to kill you. But it wasn't really until the centuries to come where people would start developing this disgust and paranoia of them. Literature from the 19th century, literature and movies from the 20th century, and literature, movies, and video games in the 21st century. They've all gone on to do a really great job at establishing the horror genre, and in turn also establishing our irrational fear of spiders. And this is because spiders are always incorporated into dark, spooky, shady, evil, and just nasty environments. And to make matters worse, people would elaborate on the damage that spiders could cause, at the same time emphasizing the weirdness about them. And it really did change the public view of spiders. And a lot of early fear that was really established into the population arose with movies such as Tarantula, This Night I Will Possess Your Corpse, and yes, that's an actual title. Tarantulas, The Deadly Cargo, the James Bond film Dr. No, the movie Arachnophobia, and you can also incorporate video games and TV shows and books all into this massive amount of fear established around spiders. All painting the picture of how bad and evil and disgusting spiders are, and of course making them all seem extremely dangerous. Even when in most cases, the danger is completely impossible or extremely exaggerated. And even when you have stories that make spiders good like James the Giant Peach and Charlotte's Web, it still could not fight back the massive, overwhelming dark side that people incorporated with spiders. And the fear and dislike for them has really been propelling itself over the past 50 years. I bet you if you were to ask your grandparents how they felt about spiders growing up, they'd have a very different opinion than what you probably have right now. And we can only expect that as movies, books, and video games get better and better at establishing horror environments for us, we can assume that spiders will always be included into that. And we're completely doing all this to ourselves. We have literally made ourselves more afraid of spiders today than most of our ancestors ever were. And this is the absolute definition of a phobia. It is completely irrational. I mean, we are raised to think that the way they look, the way they walk, the way their teeth are, the way just everything about them is disgusting and creepy and gross and horrible. So in the end, have people always feared spiders? No, not really. If you were to consider the whole population of Earth and all the different groups within it, really only a small part of it has ever been really afraid of spiders. So maybe the next time you see a tarantula or a spider, just anything of the sort, try to think past what society's instilled in you, because we built this construct around spiders being gross. And try to appreciate what nature has allowed us to have, and that is to give us a fancy bug that eats all the other nasty, sick, gross bugs. So my question for you guys is what is your relationship with spiders? Are you completely petrified of them? Can you look but don't touch, or do they not bother you at all? And with that said, my name's Dale, you're watching Think Fact, and remember, never stop learning. Thank you.
What the world of today.
If you like my videos, please stay in tune for more. More videos on the facts that almost everybody missed.